Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. I'm your host Ryan, and this is an episode of Thursday Night Tailgate Party. All right, this is going to be strictly dedicated to the game tonight and our fantasy league. 8:20 Eastern Time, Thursday night. This is the 12th of November, 2020. We're going to be seeing the Indianapolis Colts at Tennessee Titans. This game actually opened as a 1-point betting favorite for the Colts. I have the Colts tonight at favored by 3 myself, but it is interesting to note that it seems Vegas has pushed that back. This game is even betting odds in Vegas right now, so could be down to the wire. Very fun divisional matchup. My team's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Been watching them since a kid. Season tickets since 1995 in their inaugural season. The Colts are 5-3, trailing the Titans, who are 6-2, and they're pretty much taking the division here. Texans at 2-6, they're probably not going anywhere. Jaguars at 1-7, definitely not going anywhere. That's been a joke. So we're going to see the Titans and Colts kind of jockey for position here in the AFC South to see who can take this division. I like the way the Titans have been playing all year, mostly because I'm a fan of teams that have a strong run game. Derrick Henry is one of those guys that will get you 4 yards a carry. Very important. I've said this in the past, where you're getting 4 yards a carry. You can the reasoning behind that statistic that it's so important is if you run the running back 3 times, you've got 12 yards. That's a first down every time you run it. Now, obviously, defenses are going to get wise to that. You're going to get stuff to the line. Some of those carries are going to be 2. That's why they call it an average. But Derrick Henry's a power runner. He goes downfield. If he can move the ball well tonight against the Colts, then that opens up the play action for Tannehill, and they'll be able to kind of control the time of possession. And I think that's what's really going to be important here for Tennessee. Now, it's important to note that Tannehill has been getting some criticism from people for kind of falling off the last few weeks. I don't really see that. I see Tannehill as a guy who's had one off game and then a lot of games that we didn't expect from a player like this. I mean, he's playing really good this season. 1,981 yards passing, 19 TDs, 3 interceptions. Rivers, on the other hand, he's completing a lot of passes. They're dump offs. Everybody is getting into open space to make these yards happen. He's not really throwing to any of his deep threats. 2,087 yards, but then again, he's just got 10 TDs and 7 interceptions. A lot of turnovers on Rivers' side of the ball. So this is important to note because these two guys at the helm, they're going to dictate the tempo of their offenses here against the other defense. And then the running game has to be strong behind these guys. Neither one of them are thought of as really strong quarterbacks at this stage in the game. Tannehill, coming from Miami, everybody thought would be a draft bust. It's more looking like maybe Adam Gase was the problem, and Tannehill can flourish under this offense in Tennessee that he's playing with. But still, we kind of think of him as a middle-of-the-pack QB. Phillip Rivers, he's got a real small hand. He kind of notes how his dad taught him how to push a football out of his hand because he couldn't grip it correctly to throw it deep. I mean, that's a big thing. Rivers can't get the ball deep, and he's got no one to throw to at this point. Especially, I think Jack Doyle's out for this game tonight, and in fact, something we can talk about real quick is that one of the reasons Rivers is going to struggle is T.Y. Hilton has kind of been a non-factor. Yeah, he's been active for most of the year, but he has been showing up on the injury reports. Tonight, he's got a groin injury removed from the Week 10 injury report a few days ago, but he's been hurt off and on. You probably will see him tonight, although he still carries the questionable tag. This is somebody who I'm thinking to myself, do you think about dropping him or not? T.Y. Hilton is one of those guys that he probably produced for you over the past few years. You might not need to wait on him anymore. Dynasty leagues especially, I've heard the opposite argument. I've heard if you got him in Dynasty League, maybe you hold on to him longer. I don't think so. If you have him in a Dynasty League, I think it's time to drop T.Y. Hilton, get some young talent on your team instead. This is just something else that's going to hurt Phillip Rivers, because we always thought that T.Y. Hilton was going to kind of be his Keenan Allen target that he was going to go to, and that just has not panned out. And moving down to that running game I was talking about, the Colts with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor coming out of Alabama, we thought he was going to be big workhorse, bell cow back for this team. He gets in the doghouse a lot, and with Frank Reich, it's kind of like, I don't know whether or not he's like the administration bestowing these punitive reactions upon Jonathan Taylor to where he's punishing him for like fumbles and stuff like that, or if he just doesn't give a shit if the Colts win or not. But we're seeing Taylor lose his possession of the ball to guys like Jordan Wilkins, who, to be honest, is struggling to move it himself. I was like, is Jordan Wilkins going to be a thing? I don't think so. Some of these carries have been for less than 2 yards. He was averaging under 3 yards a carry when he was getting a lot of these touches. I don't think that's something that is going to help the Colts move in a winning direction. Nyheim Hines is going to be the passing down back on that team. And to make my point, Phillip Rivers has hit him for 3 touchdowns this year. No one puts Nyheim Hines on their team on purpose. If you're in a deep league, maybe you're flexing him, RB4. Not really sure, but this is the state of the Colts backfield. I don't see why they're not handing it off to Taylor over and over again and seeing whether or not this kid can correct his mistakes and gain some confidence. They're letting Ezekiel Elliott fumble the ball 5 times in Dallas, but they're punishing Jonathan Taylor for any mistakes he's made, even when he's had touchdowns in those games. Very iffy backfield right now. I think Reich is doing the wrong thing. A lot of people think he's a genius. He's not handling his running backs correctly. I think you hand Jonathan Taylor the rock and you're going to start to see some results. If you keep this wishy-washy committee stuff going on between Taylor, Wilkins, and Nyheim Hines, you deserve what you get. No one cares about Jordan Wilkins or Nyheim Hines. No offense to those guys. They're hard workers. They made it to the NFL. They're clearly talented, above 99% of America. What I'm trying to say is when it comes down to the elite of the elite on these NFL teams, you didn't draft Jonathan Taylor to sit behind guys like Jordan Wilkins and Nyheim Hines. That's the bottom line. We want to see Jonathan Taylor get 200 carries, 250 carries, especially the 250 carry mark. See if he can get 1,000 yards, 4 yards a carry. That's what we want to see here. And I'm not just talking about for fantasy purposes. I mean to win the game. But if you do have these guys in fantasy, I think Jonathan Taylor is still a must-start as the starting back until we see him literally go under the threshold of 11 to 12 carries a game. Put him in. He's been getting a lot of touchdowns. Wilkins, I don't think you start right now. Nyheim Hines is someone I think you can flex going forward. On the Titans side of the ball, you don't have to worry too much about the Titans' backups. Right now, Donta Foreman, formerly of the Houston Texans, was put on a physically unable to perform list with them. He is playing for the Titans and peppering in some downs for the Titans just to give Henry rest. Henry, obviously a must-start, even against a tough Colts defense. It's important to note that right now, on the Colts defense, they are scoring a lot for fantasy purposes. And they're a tough defense to go against. There's nothing to suggest that they can't stop the run game that Derrick Henry has been bringing to every team in the NFL. It's not just about, well, this team's good against the run, that team's good against the run. Derrick Henry is the one who nullifies whether that is even a consideration in the first place. You start Derrick Henry and you see where the chips lie. I think the Colts defense is going to have a harder time tonight than people want them to. I don't think they're shutting down Tannehill. I will say that with Danico Autry, he's got 5 sacks on the season. Bobby Okereke, 38 tackles on the season. Julian Blackmon, 2 interceptions on the season, followed by TJ Carey with 2 and Kenny Moore with 2. This Colts defense has been playing great. I don't think they're going to have a huge impact on what the Titans offense is doing. They're still trailing the Titans. They still don't have as good of an offense. And this is something I see the Titans potentially winning by 3. And I'm sorry if I mentioned that I had the Colts by 3 before, but I definitely am taking the Titans by 3 in this game. Although I did see I think that might have been why I said that I would take the Colts by 3, is because Vegas had the Colts by 1, and now it's even. I think the Titans are taking this by 3. Now, the Titans' defense has not been elite by any means, but I do think that the Colts are kind of wishy-washy, and it's a fantasy reflection of their defense. I don't think when it comes down to the real NFL and the narrative that goes on in each one of these games, they don't care about your fantasy team. I think you're probably going to see that the Colts struggle a little bit here, and that's okay. You can still play some of your notables on either team, but I am saying, like, you don't sit Derrick Henry just because he's going up against the Colts. That's not going to happen. Corey Davis blanked last week. Maybe we see him involved again, but I really think it's A.J. Brown. That if you're talking about taking a wide receiver on a team and just rolling with him, you want A.J. Brown for this one. Janu Smith has been hurt off and on. I think he could be a good play tonight. I'm going to play him. And I'm feeling good about it. Stephanie, you had a little bit of a QB situation. You have Ryan Tannehill, you got Matthew Stafford, you got Joe Burrow on your team, and you're dropping Matthew Stafford tonight to make some room. You're going to play Tannehill, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I think Tannehill is still a solid play here, and see what you get out of him. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, actually. Tannehill being started by you against the Colts tonight when you got Burrow on your bench versus Steelers. I think this is an interesting play. Again, the Colts and the Titans are going to play each other tough, divisional matchup, but Burrow is going to be going up against the Steelers' top defense in the league. I'm not as scared about the Colts defense playing Tannehill as I am playing Burrow against the Steelers, and I think Burrow has a ton of talent. And something we should note here is that Tannehill has to go up against the Colts this week, goes up against Baltimore next week. Next week after that, they're going up against the Colts again. So Tannehill is going to have almost a practice run here, and then we're going to see how that works out in week 12 when they have to play them another time. Burrow having to go up against the Steelers, that seems a little bit more risky to me as a rookie on a struggling offense and team than it does to play Tannehill against the Colts. And I think if you've got these kind of wishy-washy players on the Colts like Nyheim Hines, and you've got your Mo Alley Cox and your Jack Doyles, and you're just kind of like going through the motions with their tight ends, and you're waiting for these rookies from last year to kind of make a name for themselves with Phillip Rivers. It's not going to happen. This offense is going to struggle tonight. That's my feeling. I don't think you take a lot of these Colts players, and if you do have Titans players, don't be scared of this Indianapolis defense. I'm taking the Titans tonight. So now I want to talk about my fantasy league, Rob's fantasy league, Stephanie's fantasy league. Our ESPN league is a keeper league. We have 10 spots in the starting roster. 2 of them are flexes. We have 9 bench positions and an IR slot. So at any given time, you can have 20 players on your team. What's happening this week is kind of a trade outburst. Stephanie, have you noticed just how many trades have been going through in the last couple of days here?
I mean, yeah, it's been kind of crazy, right?
We've seen big trades actually happening. One of our league members here traded Lamar Jackson. And remember, this is a keeper league, dynasty league. They traded Lamar Jackson for Aaron Jones. They're in win now mode, and I think this was kind of a nice trade, to be quite honest. Lamar Jackson is a mobile quarterback, and as far as mobile quarterback histories go, they tend to run into these injury problems that might stifle their career or end it altogether. We've seen it, Michael Vick get derailed. We've seen RG3's career completely go up in shambles. Lamar Jackson could be a risk going forward. Is he playing amazing like he did last year, MVP? No. Is he playing really bad? No. And I think that's why this is a great trade. You can kind of sell him high, and if you're not expecting 10 years of production out of Lamar Jackson going forward and you're disappointed with him, why not assume Lamar Jackson might get 2 to 4 years of production and trade him for a guy like Aaron Jones who gets 2 to 4 years of production, high production as a running back based off the average length of their career, and you know he's going to be in the game every down pretty much, and as a passing back too. So Aaron Jones has got the production there, especially in a season and a fantasy environment where running backs are kind of hard to come by. So I mean I like that trade, a lot of fun there, and on top of that, not too many days afterwards, we're seeing a trade that I processed where Rob offers me DJ Moore for Christian Kirk, and I mean that's a great trade too, and mostly for Rob. Rob's got Kyler Murray, a guy that he wasn't completely sold on. Me and him had some discussions when it was Rob's chance to draft first, and he decides, okay, I'll take your advice, Ryan. I'm going to choose Kyler Murray. I like it, and Kyler's been panning out for him as a possible MVP pick this year. So I think coupling Christian Kirk with Kyler Murray is an awesome thing. So if I have Christian Kirk and I'm playing Rob, and Christian Kirk gets that 70-yard TD, that's going to nullify Rob's points. But if Rob's got Christian Kirk and Kyler in the same game, and now that they're starting to link up more and more and get that trust and rapport built with each other, Christian Kirk and Kyler on the same team, 40 points from Kyler one night, 20 from Kirk one night. You got 60 on a big night from the two of them alone. And then you got 8 other players that can come in and pad your points for that win. DJ Moore on my side, I'm decimated by running back injury and picking up bad wide receivers because of it. Some of my other wide receivers are getting old, like AJ Green, and I'm not able to use them so much. So DJ Moore seems like a fair trade to me when I'm talking about giving away a Christian Kirk. He plays second fiddle to DeAndre Hopkins. DJ Moore kind of plays second fiddle to Robbie Anderson right now, and the ever-increasing role of Curtis Samuel. Yeah, I like the trade. Going forward, Miles Sanders and Aaron Rodgers. Rob is the next one to do this trade again. He has Kyler Murray and hasn't really been playing Aaron Rodgers because Kyler Murray has been great with his feet, but Aaron Rodgers has also been playing lights out. So Rob's thinking, what do I do with this guy? And in a dynasty league like ours, Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age. But if you don't have a QB, and like a lot of us tend to hoard 2 to 3 QBs in a 10-person league like this, we've got 20 to 30 QBs off the board. So like a lot of what you're seeing is like Jake Luton's available, Baker Mayfield's available, but Tua's not available. Tua's on my team. Aaron Rodgers going out for Miles Sanders. That's a cool move. The only thing is he's trading him to a guy who's playing him this week. Who's also decimated by injury but getting Chubb back. So this is a risk for the other guy involved because if Chubb gets hurt again, he doesn't have Miles Sanders. But Rob is missing some running backs. So Miles Sanders is a good trade. He gets a volume running back in exchange for a quarterback he's not using who he can still sell high for. I mean, I really like it. I truly do. And that kind of brings me back to my other point. The guy that trades Miles Sanders, I traded him Juju Smith-Schuster. I love Juju. I'm a huge fan. But he's been underproducing mostly because of Ben's inability to spread the ball around effectively. I know the Steelers are winning, but if you watch that offense, Ben really is having a hard time deciding who's going to be his main wide receiver this year, and he doesn't need to do that. He's got Ebron, he's got Deontay Johnson, he's got Juju, and he's got Chase Claypool. Claypool's made some fumbles. Deontay Johnson's made some drops and has been hurt. He's neglecting Juju, especially with this mantra of like, well, Juju is he doesn't care about the stats. It takes a dig at Antonio Brown to say that. Well, tell that to Juju and his family when Juju's trying to get a contract, a new contract, and he doesn't have any stats to sway any of these owners for their money. I think that Juju is one of those guys that you can sell high if you want to trade him, and he's still got a lot of talent left on board. I traded away Juju to get a guy like Tua, and in the past couple weeks, I traded away Deshaun Watson to get Keenan Allen. Now, before you call me crazy, Deshaun Watson is one of these guys I've had on my team for years. He's slow to start a game. Sometimes he's slow to finish a game. I never see Patrick Mahomes like output, Justin Herbert like output, where Watson's just racking up yards every single quarter. There's some quarters of play where Watson has not thrown over 12 yards passing. There's plenty of quarters where he's not had a touchdown. And to me, Keenan Allen was sitting at about wide receiver position 25 when I traded for him. Now we're seeing him go up the ranks with this rookie Herbert. I take Watson, dump him off for Keenan Allen. Then I take Juju, who's underperforming as a wide receiver, and I take a gamble to trade him for Tua. And Tua, as we saw, just had a big game last week, and he obviously has a scrambling ability. The way he just broke out of that sack and ran up the middle, I mean, he looks like Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. So I like the upside there. Tua is one of those guys you can trade for, and people are not going to really know his value until they watch him do what he's going to do. Because we've heard the criticism. Tua gets injured a lot. Tua's too small. Tua can't run. And none of that stuff's true. Tua has had some surgeries and injuries. He hasn't really missed a lot of NCAA game time because of it. He's a champion. He took over people's jobs in the NCAA. And he was with Alabama. He's thrown to the best wide receivers in college football, and he doesn't need to run. And one of Tua's biggest strengths is his ability to pass while he's running. Being a mobile quarterback, throwing on the run. That's actually Tua's strength. So one of the things that happens is Tua goes out to scramble and decides, I'm going to throw the ball instead of just turning this into a running play. And that's why you're not seeing those running stats from him, but believe me, he can do it. So I like the upside there. My team is completely turned around from these trades. Instead of having Deshaun Watson and Juju Smith-Schuster, which sounds like a dream team a couple of years ago, I've got Tua and Keenan Allen now. Now, in one of my other leagues, a big money league, I do have Deshaun Watson and Juju still on my team. So it's not like I'm a non-believer. But what I'm trying to say is, check out some of these transaction trends that are going on in our league. Maybe it's something you guys will think about going forward. It is interesting to note that people like Stephanie and Rob, they're in the playoff hunt. I am not right now, and that's kind of why I'm rebuilding my team. So I do want to give some clarification there. They're the ones in the playoff hunt. I'm not. So make of that what you will. But it is interesting to see these transactions going forward. And if you're going to make a big trade play like that, think about these trades we just made this week. If you thought you would never want to trade Aaron Rodgers, well, now if you've got a Joe Burrow going forward, do you want to trade Aaron Rodgers for a running back or wide receiver that you can easily flex at that position? I think it's a good idea. You guys tell me what you think. Hit like and subscribe if you can. Next time I'll have Rob on the show with me, and we'll do our regular scheduled episode of Fantasy R&R. Thanks. Have a good night.
That was Fantasy with Rob and Ryan. Fantasy